Well, it's been about 2 weeks since I made a full-length video in the garden, and it was probably good to wait that long because now I actually have some things to show you. Let's see. In this video, you're going to see some things growing in the garden. We're going to get a check-in and update on the seedlings, and I'm going to show you a few products that I bought. Let's start in the garden. Okay, the first good development in the garden is my radishes have sprouted. You can see them here, and they came up quick. They probably sprouted in 3 or 4 days, and this is longer than that, but you can see I'm going to have to go through and thin some soon. And I've got, let's see, 3 rows of those going, so that's great. If you are in need of something, you want to see something grow fast and get some of that as close as you can to immediate gratification in the garden, radishes are a good choice. They sprout up quick and they grow to harvest pretty quick too. After that, something that popped up this week with our good weather, maybe a little hard to see, is some of my green onions started to pop up from seed. So I've got a few rows of those. Let those get going a little while and then we'll see about thinning those. Over here, of course, I've got a couple rows of my zombie onions, and those are actually looking pretty good. So they're taking pretty well, they're growing pretty well. We've had some really nice weather here lately, which has really helped the garden, I think. So 2 rows of zombies, 2 nice long rows of zombies. Other than the zombies, over here, I've got my strawberries. They've been hanging on all through the winter. They're blooming like crazy. And they're even starting to put out some little strawberries that will ripen over time. I don't take much care of these because usually the birds get them before I do, but we get a couple once in a while that we can have as a little snack. Those giant rosemary bushes over there, actually I just took them out of the garden a few weeks ago, and when I took those out, I had a few little shoots of rosemary that were coming off the bottom of those, and I've been able to plant them here in my garden beds, and they're taking just fine. Giving them some water. We're doing good. I've got this curly kale going. This poor little plant is like a year old. He's hanging on. This one is like 2 years old. We actually had some from this one in our salad yesterday. And this one, if you remember, it was attacked by something. It's starting to make a comeback. And right here beside it, we have another row of zombie onions. Other than that, the only thing growing in the garden right now is this nice group of thyme. Okay, now that we had a look at what's actually growing in the garden, I'm going to give you a up-close view of progress on the seedlings. Okay, in no particular order, here's an update on the seedlings. This is my kale. These larger ones are the dinosaur kale. They were new seeds I purchased. They're doing great. Here, of course, this is complete failure. This is a little curly kale that came up and looked kind of sick and finally died. And this is the only curly kale out of about 8 that I planted that actually came up. And it's struggling, but it's doing better. It's improving. So that one's looking okay. All right, next up, we've got my spinach, and the spinach is looking awesome. So these I planted actually from seed after these, but these came up from seed, and you'll see that the little initial leaves that kind of come up, they look like grass, but then they branch out and they start giving you these little spinachy leaves, and those are doing well. I'm pleased. I think, crossing my fingers, that I'm going to have good spinach this year from seed. Lettuce. I'm having varied success with my lettuce. Let's see, this one is a salad bowl lettuce, and it actually is starting to look like the lettuce plant, but they're really small. It's, I don't know, still a while before I put those out in the garden, so I'm going to keep those growing. Similar with the romaine lettuce. It actually looks like romaine lettuce, but it's really small and really flimsy and kind of struggling, but making it. Serrano peppers. I'm kind of happy that the Serrano peppers are looking pretty good. This is one of, I think, 3 that I have. And the plants are looking pretty good. They're coming up. In a former video, in a previous video, I mentioned that last year I had no luck at all with the Serranos. I was able to sprout 2 and they just kind of dried up and went away. But now I've got 3 that look like they're going to make it for this year. I've always had pretty good luck with basil, even growing it from seed. I've got 4 of these little plants and they popped up. You can see they're starting to look like little basil plants. Pretty happy with those. Those are doing well. And cucumbers. The cucumbers are doing great. I've got 3. This is the strongest looking one. I have 2 more that look similar, maybe just a little bit smaller. These plants are looking good. It's a small bush cucumber. I'm hoping that we'll really have some good cucumbers to eat from the garden this year. Okay, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned one of the 3 things we would do is we would look at a couple of products that I purchased. And here is one. I have had varied success in the past with growing things from seed. Some stuff like the radishes always do awesome, the green onions are fine, but other things I kind of hit or miss, and it seems to be a lot of luck. This year I got on it a lot earlier than normal, which is a big plus, and things were sprouting. I was having pretty good success there, but the plants didn't look quite as healthy as I wanted. Even though we get a good bit of sun here where I live in Georgia, I decided that I probably needed to hit them with a little bit more light. So I bought a cheap grow light. It clamps on, has these 3 kind of adjustable arms. I'm not going to tell you exactly which one I bought because I haven't decided if I'm actually, going to say it's a good product yet or not. But it works. It was pretty easy to use out of the box. And my seedlings are doing better than ever. But I can't attribute that all to this because I've really been on it. I got on it early this year. I've kept them in the sunlight. We had a really great week last week and I got everything out of the garage every day and out in the sun for many hours. And a little bit earlier, a couple weeks ago when it was not as sunny during the day and it was a little bit colder, I was hitting them with these extra, and I don't know. The seedlings are doing pretty well. You saw for yourself in the video that those look pretty good. The other product that I purchased myself was a new hose. After, I don't know, 20 years, I hit my old hose with a lawnmower a few years ago and patched it up with some duct tape, and that's kind of been hit or miss, and finally I just decided, hey, after 20 years you deserve a new hose. So I got a nice new garden hose and got that all installed, and I've been using it. I'll talk a little bit more in a later video kind of about my watering. Right now, all I need to do is take my new hose and give a little bit of water to the radishes and some of the other few things growing in the garden. So I hope you enjoyed this update, and I'll keep you posted on how the garden's going.